Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're embarking on a really fascinating journey into a foundational text. It's one that's profoundly shaped a major world religion, Romans chapter 10.
hmm
Our source for this exploration is a rich study. It's titled MCS Romans chapter 10, and we'll probably refer to it as the Messianic Commentary Studies, or just the commentary as we go. It offers some great verse-by-verse insights.
It really does.
So our mission today is to unpack what this chapter truly reveals. Things like the nature of righteousness, salvation, and, the pivotal role of faith.
Yeah.
We'll explore why Paul, the author, felt such a passionate concern for Israel, and maybe how these ancient words might offer some surprising clarity for us right now.
And what's truly fascinating here, I think, is how this study meticulously navigates the text. It really illuminates foundational concepts that, well, they just resonate across centuries, don't they?
Absolutely.
We'll be examining the profound nuance of in Christ alone and how a misunderstanding of this core idea can lead people down a path of trying to establish their own righteousness.
Right. Their own way.
Exactly. Instead of fully embracing, God's way.
So for you listening, whether this is maybe your first encounter with Romans chapter 10 or perhaps a fresh rereading, we're going to try and distill the essential nuggets of knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
We want you to grasp the profound implications of these teachings. So let's dive in.
Let's do it.
Okay, so we begin with a really powerful insight into Paul's heart for his own people, for Israel. The commentary immediately highlights his deep personal desire for their salvation. It captures his fervent prayer.
Yeah, that first verse.
Right? Brothers, my heart's deepest desire and my prayer to God for Israel is for their salvation. It's clear this isn't just like theological abstraction for
Nope,
Paul.
not at all.
It's intensely personal. You can feel it's born from a profound love.
And that's crucial because the study then explains that, while Israel certainly had a zeal for God, a real passion,
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't, and this is the key phrase, based on correct understanding.
Ah, okay.
What's particularly insightful is the commentary's connection to Paul's own past. It notes he had, quote, been there and done that.
Right. His own experience.
Exactly. This speaks to his personal journey, having once really strived, to please God through immense effort, through the law, rather than through faith in Yeshua Messiah. This Jesus, of course.
Yeah.
And this raises, I think, an important question. How can such strong devotion, such zeal, sometimes miss the ultimate mark if it's not rooted in a fundamental truth about God's actual plan?
That is a vital distinction, isn't it? And it leads us directly into the heart of Paul's argument here. He transitions to this critical difference between seeking righteousness through the law.
Yeah, the commandments.
Right, the Mosaic Law, the Old Testament commandments, and seeking it through God's way. The commentary notes that they are unaware of God's way of making people righteous and instead seek to set up their own. It really highlights a fundamental divergence in approach.
Precisely. And the Messianic commentary studies explain that the law did not have the power to save. It couldn't do it.
It couldn't part life.
No. It elaborates on how striving for perfect obedience, which the law demanded, the person who does these things will attain life through them.
Yeah.
That was ultimately not attainable for humanity. It just wasn't possible.
Right.
This constant striving meant that righteousness, through sort of legalistic effort, was an impossible standard to meet.
And that concept resonates even today. The commentary points out something quite contemporary. Many in the church buildings today that are there out of obligation and not out of faith.
Going through the motions.
Yeah, clinging to the hope of getting a place in heaven through their actions instead of rejoicing that by faith in Yeshua Messiah, they've already been granted a place. Why do you think it's so sort of inherently difficult for us to accept what's described as a free gift? It seems almost counterintuitive, doesn't it? We want to earn things.
It does seem to be a deep human instinct, yeah. But that leads perfectly into the next section.
Okay, yeah. Now this is where Paul really unveils the true paradigm shift, moving from human effort to divine grace. The commentary immediately zeroes in on the righteousness grounded in trusting. That sounds revolutionary.
It absolutely was. I mean, the core message is incredibly profound. Our righteousness does not depend on man's actions, but belief in the completed work of God. It simplifies it down to this really powerful statement.
Core of it.
Yeah. If you acknowledge publicly with your mouth that Yeshua is Lord, that's Adonai, meaning Lord, and trust in your heart that God raised him from the dead, you will be delivered, saved. It fundamentally redefines what's required. The emphasis shifts entirely to belief, to trust.
Okay.
And the study clarifies something important about this confession, too. It says, It's not solely about going forward at a church in response to an altar call.
Ah, right. Not just that one specific act.
Exactly. While that can be a genuine expression, of course, it points out it can happen anywhere else because God is everywhere. The accessibility of this belief, this trust, is really emphasized.
Wow, that sounds incredibly freeing, doesn't it?
It really does.
The commentary reinforces this idea, quoting from Isaiah, saying that everyone who rests his trust on him will not be humiliated, which it interprets as meaning we no longer have to chase around looking for a way to survive, be saved. How revolutionary must that have felt for people who are constantly striving, constantly trying to earn God's favor? It suggests an end to that anxiety.
A complete release from that burden, yeah.
And this liberating message, it naturally extends outward, doesn't it? Into this radical inclusivity presented in the next verses. The commentary states it plainly. There is no difference between Jew and Gentile. Adonai is the same for everyone. That would have been truly groundbreaking.
Oh, absolutely. A huge statement in that context. Paul draws from the prophet Joel, making it clear that on the day of judgment, all receive the same salvation, which is through Yeshua Messiah. There's one way.
One way accessible to all.
Yes. And he emphasizes the profound simplicity of it. It is simply a calling out to God and not having to do any kind of works to get God to hear us. I mean, just think about that. It directly challenges so many traditional, ingrained ideas about who gets access to God, opening the door universally.
So, if salvation is presented as, well, so simple and universal, what then is our role? What are we supposed to do? This next passage seems to explain exactly that, asking, why did Yeshua give us the Great Commission? You know, his command to spread this message.
Right.
It feels like the focus shifts from just individual striving or even individual receiving to a kind of collective responsibility.
It breaks down into a really clear, logical flow. As the commentary explains it, it's like a chain reaction. How can they call on someone if they haven't trusted in him?
Okay, trust comes first.
And how can they trust in someone if they haven't heard about him?
Makes sense. Need the information.
And how can they hear about someone if no one is proclaiming him? If no one is sharing the news? It highlights the absolute necessity of actually sharing this good news. You can't keep it to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
The passage then highlights that beautiful quote from the Tanakh, the Hebrew Bible. How beautiful are the feet of those announcing good news about good things.
Yeah, lovely imagery.
Isn't it? And the Messianic commentary studies offer a pretty strong interpretation here.
Yeah.
It says this isn't just for a select few, like professional preachers or missionaries,
Right.
but rather everyone in the church is to go out and preach the word of God instead of a few being selected and funded by those who are unwilling to go.
Ah.
That's quite a statement. What responsibility, does that place on believers as a whole? It's universal.
That's a challenging thought. So despite this clear universal message, this call to proclaim, the commentary then notes, maybe predictably, they haven't all paid attention to the good news and obeyed it. It seems even with this free gift being offered, there's still that human element of choice, of acceptance, or, well, rejection.
That's right. And Paul brings in Isaiah's prophecy, which foretold that most of the Jews would reject him and his message. This is then contrasted quite starkly with the Gentiles.
How so?
Well, God says through Isaiah regarding the Gentiles, I was found by those who did not seek me. I became known to those who did not ask for me. It shows this surprising, almost counterintuitive turn of events, a kind of divine switch in focus, maybe.
Interesting.
And the commentary explains that God's plan was always, multifaceted. It always included the Gentiles. In fact, Paul quotes Deuteronomy 32.21, suggesting God would even use the inclusion of Gentiles to provoke Israel to jealousy, to perhaps bring them back.
Wow, okay. Complex dynamics.
Very. And then you get that really striking image from Isaiah again, of God saying, all day long I held out my hands to a people who kept disobeying and contradicting. It just emphasizes this persistent, patient, pursuing love despite the rejection. It really highlights God's continuous initiative, even when faced with human resistance.
So what does this all mean then about the nature of God's invitation and, well, the role of human free will? It seems like a delicate balance, doesn't it? Persistent divine outreach, yet human response is still key.
It certainly seems that way. A tension Paul is exploring.
Well, this deep dive into Romans chapter 10, really illuminated by the Messianic commentary studies, it emphasizes, I think, a singular path to righteousness. It's not through works, not through ancestry or effort,
No.
but purely through faith in Yeshua Messiah. It's a message of Well, profound grace and truly universal access that just cuts through so much human complication.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, it really underscores that continuous tension, doesn't it, between human effort and divine grace. It's played out through history, and frankly, it continues to resonate today in people's lives and in religious communities.
Yeah.
And it also powerfully highlights the responsibility, as we just discussed, of those who have heard this good news, to actually share it. It's not meant to get kept secret.
Right. So, as you reflect on this deep dive, maybe consider this provocative thought. If salvation is truly presented as a free gift, universally available, what does that really mean for how we understand our own efforts, our religious practices, our striving? And how does it reshape our understanding of what it means to be God's people in the broadest, most inclusive sense possible?
Yeah, what stands out to you as you hear this? Perhaps it's that radical inclusivity we talked about, or maybe the critique of, passionate but misguided zeal. Or perhaps it's that challenging call to action for everyone to proclaim this message.
Lots to think about. We certainly hope this deep dive has given you a bit of a shortcut to being well-informed on Romans 10, maybe with some surprising facts and definitely plenty to ponder.
Hopefully so.
Join us next time for another deep dive.